Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Premiere Pro Foundations Challenge. I'm your host, Fabiola Lara. Today, I'm going to be showing you everything you need to know for multicam editing for a video podcast. Now, there's a million ways you can actually use multicam editing. Today, I am going to show you specifically how to use it to cut between different cameras during your video podcast. So if you have a guest, cutting between the host and the guest, or the host, the guest, and all the other guests you have. So this is applicable just for that. And the first thing I want to do is take you to Premiere Pro so you can see where we left off yesterday. So in the previous lesson, I showed you how to set up and organize for your video podcast, how to lay out the basics for a video podcast, that being the intro section, then kind of the interview, which we have right here, the outro, and even adding a little sort of ad break of sorts, whether that's promoting your own work, promoting your friend's work, promoting your own podcast. I added that in there. So today we're going to actually take it to the next level and actually do some multicam editing, because right now, if you see where we left off, let me change my workspace real quick. You want to be in the editing workspace. This is what your editing workspace would look like. I just want to make sure you can get to it the same way that you can view it the same way that I'm working. So if you see where our timeline was from the last lesson, just this basic overview of the podcast, we have the interview here, and we have Fabiola, that would be me, my video, then we have my audio, then we have the guest video and the guest audio here. They're linked together. This is nice, but if we wanted to cut between the me and then the guest, we would have to manually kind of go in here and cut according to the waveforms that we see of the audio that can help us. We would have to cut and then be like, okay, when she's talking, I want to make sure that I cut my video out. So right here where she's talking, I'd want to delete it so that you see the guest. And then when I go back to talking, I want to have me. So you'd have to be doing all sorts of manual cutting here. Maybe you found yourself in this situation before where you have two cameras and you're like, dang, I'm really going to have to go in here and cut every single time. So here's another example where my guest, Eugenia Viti, is talking and I'm just listening, right? So I don't really need to see my camera. So I would have to go in here. I'd have to go right about here. I'd have to take that. I'd have to then delete that section where I'm talking. So it's just where she's talking. So that way while the video podcast is playing, you would see that. Let me mute these because it sounds crazy, but you would see me introducing them talking, me, back and forth. But you would have to do that all manually. You don't need to do that, okay? You are wasting your time. So I'm going to show you exactly how you can do this in a way that's a lot easier using multicam editing. So what we want to do here is have not only the host, the guest, but we also want to have a view where you can see both of them, right? So let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. So here we go. Here is a version that I edited just to show you an example of how it's. I'm going to mute again just so that way you don't hear all that back and that jittering through the playback. But you can see here, I'm talking, they're talking. Great. This is the third view, is the one that I actually want to show you. Here I introduce the third view where both of us are on the screen at the same time. I mute it again for your ears, but you can see it would play back with audio. Hey, how's your day been?
Good. I have a good day today. So best days.
So I want to show you how you can do that. That way you have the host camera, the guest camera, and this multi-view kind of camera using the multicam editing feature. So in order to accomplish that, I'm going to start from the beginning. So let me close all these other sequences so you're not getting confused. This is the interview unedited. I edited just a little section here. You can see I have my camera, and then we have the guest camera right here, right? So this is guest, this is my camera. And this is, other than this one cut I made right here, this is unedited, right? So I recommend setting this up before you go through and start editing, because once you start editing, you're going to have a lot of different cuts and it just gets a little harder to handle. So here's what we want to do. You want to line up in a sequence. You want to line up your host file, or the first camera, and the guest camera, or the second person, right? I'm saying host and guest because that's my example, but your example, maybe you have a co-host. So then you have those two cameras. But the point is, you want to have both of the videos on the sequence and kind of starting at the same exact time, right? So these, if I play them through, they make sense together, like we're talking and having a conversation. Let me play a little bit so you can understand. Okay, hello, Eugenia. How are you doing today? How's your day been?
Good, good. I have a good day today so far. It's my art day, so I have a 2-year-old, and
So there you can see that the conversation makes sense, right? So these are the full clips of the interview. So this is an hour and a half long interview. That's just my example, but however long yours is, that will work just fine. Okay. So we have, once again, my clip, the guest clip, and now I want that third view. So let me show you how you set up that third view that syncs perfectly with your original interview. So what I'm going to do, just for the sake of this example, so we're not working with an hour and a half long footage, I'm just going to cut it at 5 minutes. Okay. But it works at any length. This is just so it's easier to view all together while we're working. So you want to take your interview. So this is my whole interview with this little cut here that I made, actually just because I go off camera and I didn't want to have it interrupt the point of the lesson today. So with this, you want to just hold Option and drag it. So you basically duplicate everything here on the side. You're like, this seems hacky, Fabiola. Just bear with me. This is, I think, the easiest way to get this done, that I feel like makes a lot of sense, and you don't start adding like a trillion sequences to your timeline and kind of slowing down the whole thing. Okay, so now we have a duplicate, right? So it's a duplicate of the same thing. Now, this is fine, but this is where we're going to build that third view that has both cameras in view at the same time. So I want to go over to the captions and graphics workspace, and you just go to Window, Workspaces, Captions and Graphics. Great. I'm going to make sure it looks like, because I do a lot of edits. So this is what it'll look like when you hit that. And that works totally fine. I want to make sure that this program view is fully visible. So just make sure you can see that fully. Okay. Then we're going to add a rectangle. Okay. So you hit that rectangle tool and you want to make a big rectangle, cover your whole program monitor. Okay. Then I'm going to go back to the selection tool, or you can hit V on your keyboard and just make sure it's covering the whole area. I like to make it a little bit bigger than you need, just to make sure, because I hate it when I export it and there's like a little sliver of pixels on the side. So avoid that by kind of going over the bounds. And then I just center it using these alignment tools. So this is our rectangle back border, I'm going to call it. Now I'm going to change the fill right here. I'm going to make it, let's see, like a light pink. That's just my choice. Okay. You can make it any color you'd like. Then you take another rectangle, you can also hit R, I believe. No, wait, it doesn't say. So just click it. I don't have that one memorized. And then holding Shift, you'll make a perfect square instead of a crazy rectangle. If you hold Shift, it'll make a perfect square. So I'm gonna make a square about that big. And right now, the fill of that is the same one as before. It doesn't really matter, but to help you envision what's going on, I'm gonna make it black. Okay, so now we have this one. I'm going to make sure it's centered horizontally. Now I'm going to duplicate that. So just right here, right click, duplicate. Now it's right on top of each other. So I'm going to grab it, and holding Shift keeps it aligned to the previous shape. I'm going to move it, let's say, I don't know, right about there. That seems good. Now I'm going to click Shape. This one I'm going to name left square. And this one I'm going to name right square. I'm going to grab them both and center them as best as I can visually. I think it's about there. If you click this, you'll get that. So that's why I don't do it. Okay, great. And because I want to be cute, I'm going to do like rounded borders right here using this, the corner radius. I'm going to do about 25 on both. So now they have rounded, these squares have rounded corners, which is just cute. Okay. Now, when you start creating a graphic, it kind of makes it a just like a graphic right here on your timeline. It's really small though, as you can see. We want to extend that so that it applies to that entire new duplicate area, right? So this is the original two cameras together. Here is the third one that we're creating, which is the dual view. So I want the graphic applied to that entire thing, which is just a copy of this section. I hope you're following. If you're not, please comment in the chat. I'm happy to help you out. So this is the graphic that we just made. Now, with these right and left, so you want to click the graphic and then you want to click right and left square. If you hit shift, you'll select them both at once. And you want to hit mask with shape. Okay, it looks crazy. And then you want to hit invert. And now you have two boxes. Those left and right squares are visible there, so you can see through to the clips underneath, right? But our clips underneath need to be centered into that left and right square. So this is the way I do it. I'm sure there's a million ways to do it, but I'm just showing you how I like to do it. And it's, I think, the easiest way to do it. So with your clip selected, right now I have that clip into 2, which is why I recommend not editing first. That way you have a solid clip. You go into Effect Controls, and we want to move this. So I'm going to just move this to the left. Okay, you can see that my video starts going to the left. Maybe I'm going to scale it back because I can fill in that square a little bit better right here. And then I need to crop it, right? So for cropping, right here, right now you're in your project panel. You want to move over to Effects and search for crop. You'll have this crop effect. You want to just drag that over. I'm going to drag it to all of them while we're here. Okay. Drag it over, and then I'm going to crop this right side in to reveal the video underneath. Now, the video underneath is Eugenia, my guest, and I'm going to move her over using those position controls. Scale down. That's too far down. You know, you play with it and make sure you get it to a spot that you like. Okay, that looks good to me. Now, because I have 2 clips because I edited it, I have to replicate that. So I'm going to copy those attributes and paste them. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Copy, right click, paste attributes. All right, so now we have this view with both of us. Then we want to get it all kind of together. We want to nest it. That way it becomes one clip. Right now you can see we have this graphic, then we have the video clips, then we have the other video clips and the audio files. It's a lot. So you just want to click on in your sequence and then drag to select that entire section, right click and hit nest. Now, I like to be very mindful when I name these things, and because otherwise it's really easy to get confused once you start nesting and you have a lot of sequences. So I'll call this one dual view because we have the 2 of us in here. That's what I mean by dual view. So I hit OK. I'm going to go right here to my project file. Dual view is right here. I'm going to drag that into my sequences. I'm calling it sequences rebuild because I've already built it before. But you'll see in your project files, if you download them, you'll only have 1 sequences where everything is there to display. And this is my little reminder to go download those project files because you can kind of back engineer what I did, give it a shot yourself, and make sure you really master this multicam editing feature. Okay, so now we have dual view, right? So this is all together, which is great. Now, I'm going to click that dual view and drag it over to the original, right on top of the original 2 video tracks, because the audio track's the exact same. This is the same audio tracks as the ones over here. So I don't need that. Now we have dual view, my camera, and the guest camera. Perfect. That's what you want. So finally, we can actually send that over to our we can either drag this into another sequence or right here, I'm going to show you because it makes the most sense. You want to select it all, right click again and hit nest. So now we have two, and this is the multicam nest. It has the dual view, it has the host view, and it has the guest camera. Hit OK, and that'll compact all those video files. You see it creates a new sequence. So I just drag it so that it's all tidy. And once you're in here, you just hit it, right click, multicam enable. And now you've enabled multicam. It doesn't seem like anything has changed, right? So hold on one second. I'm going to change workspaces. So I'm going to go window, workspace, editing, because we were in the graphics workspace. We don't really need that. So you've already enabled multicam, and you can see all the cameras right here when you right click. This is great, but right now all you're seeing is the one camera, which is like not the point, right? What you have to do is toggle the multicam view. So you can hit it right here and you'll see all your other cameras in the program window. If you're not seeing this button that says toggle multi-camera view, you need to hit this and it'll be in here, and you drag it down so that you can see it in your menu. That's all that's happening, is that you don't have that button selected. It doesn't usually by default show up in there, but you can just add it. Okay, oops. So once you have it in there, now you have to tell Premiere Pro what camera to play when. So this is a time where you play through the entire interview, which is why I only have 5 minutes here, because I want to really be able to help you guys and not make you sit through an entire hour-and-a-half interview unedited. But what you're going to do for your podcast is go through the whole thing unedited and select the camera views that you want. So let's hit the spacebar button to play it. And the way that you select which camera you want to view when is by hitting the numbers on your keypad. So this is camera 1, this is camera 2, and this is camera 3. I know it kind of seems out of order, but it's fine. You'll get it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me play it. And the cool thing is too, is that if you zoom into the waveforms, you can kind of know when to expect to switch cameras. So it's always a good idea when you're doing kind of the multicam editing and selecting which camera goes when, to really zoom into those waveforms. That way you're not pressing to or switching cameras right between people talking. So just put my playhead at the beginning. I'm going to hit spacebar and I'm going to start. I think I need to start on camera 2. It makes the most sense. And then I'm going to hit spacebar and we'll move through. Actually, I think I want to start in camera 3, which is a dual view. Okay, then I'm going to press the spacebar and we'll start selecting as we go. Okay, hello, Eugenia. How are you doing today? I made a mistake. I meant to go to 2, so I'm going to start again. Okay, hello, Eugenia. How are you doing today? How's your day been?
Good. I have a good day today so far. It's my art day, so I have a 2-year-old, and so he's with his nanny and his nanny share buddy, and so I have the day to myself to do what I want, and those are the best days.
Amazing. I want to know so much more about that, actually. It's in my list of questions.
Nice.
But before we get into that, I wanted to ask you, to tell me a little bit about your background, where did you grow up, and just a little bit more about your childhood. Just, I think, listeners, it's really fun for me when I get to share about different. So I really like to switch, even if I'm talking for a long time. I like to switch cameras just to keep it interesting. Kind of where they came from, so that we know. And then I know that right around here, I'm going to go ahead and switch to camera 1.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Oak Park.
So that's how you set the cameras. And as soon as you hit spacebar and you stop playing, it will make those cuts for you. You can see right here that it's made all those cuts from camera 3 to camera 1 to camera 3 to camera 2 to camera 3. So that's how you go about doing that. The reason I really like this method is I feel like it's the simplest way to start using multicam if you don't have a ton of experience using multicam before this. And I like being able to listen to both audios and then go in myself and just select when I want to remove audio. I like to have the full control over the audio, because I do plan, and you should too, to export the audio for podcast networks. But then you have the video component for, let's say, YouTube or sharing wherever else. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, you guys, please drop them in the chat. I'm always happy to help you guys out. That's what I'm here for. And remember to download the starter files so you can follow along and practice with the footage that I provided. If you download those project files, you'll see I created like a fake podcast with Andrew Hockrattle. Hockrattle. And in there, you'll see that I created a little fake podcast with him, and you can use the same technique here to multicam edit within that project. And I set it up so you can kind of check out how I did it. Additionally, I want to shout out everyone who's been watching. Hello, Laura. Hello. Teresa, hello, Bliss. Thanks for being here once again. So happy to have you. Okay, so let's continue editing here. So that's the way I go about the multicam edits. Now, let me show you something real quick. You see here that I edited this view. So if I turn this off, because right now I'm not going to select the cameras. You'll see if I just play this back. Today, how's your day been?
Good.
So that's great. I love how they just quickly, seamlessly cuts between the different cameras. But let's say I messed up. Let's say actually in the beginning, I want to start with my camera, not the dual view camera. It's really easy. You just you want to select that clip, that part, that section of your timeline, of your sequence, right click, and then go over to multi-camera, and then you can change the camera that it's viewing. So I'm going to go to camera 2, which I believe is just me. So that's how you quickly switch from one camera to another. And then another thing that I recommend, like once you have your entire interview edited through multicam, so you have selected which camera you want throughout your entire interview, that's when you go in and make cuts, because it's really easy to be like, oh, I don't want this entire chunk. So what I'm going to do is just starting right here, I'm going to cut right there. Ooh, let me zoom in a little bit. I'm going to cut right there. I'm going to delete all of this. All of that. I'm going to delete it, ripple delete, and then we cut out that entire section. And then I really recommend switching to a camera when you make a big cut, because it almost kind of like just tells the viewer to go to the next thing. It becomes more seamless as opposed to doing a jump cut in the same camera. It's really obvious, right, that there was a jump cut. But if you cut to a different camera, you won't even know that a cut happened, especially if it makes sense. That one, I'm not sure if it makes sense, but let's go find one that maybe would.
Weird moment. So I didn't really have that many friends.
Let's see. It's like after I ask a question and maybe the answer, I decided to cut out the whole thing. That's when it's a good time to cut to the other camera, which is hopefully you're talking about something else completely.
What they say their name is. Oh.
So I'm going to cut out myself talking here. Let's say I'm going to cut this. I'm going to go to here. I'm not listening. And usually I would be listening, but I'm not listening because I'm chatting with you and it's a bit distracting. So I delete that. Triple delete. We were in camera 1. Now we want to cut not to camera 1 again, because you get this jump cut.
What they say their name is. Well, in Spain it's a really.
So instead of doing that, I'm going to right click, multicam, and go to camera 3.
What they say their name is. Well, in Spain it's a really common name. It's like Maria Eugenia.
There you go. So that's like one way that I really like to edit a video podcast, and that way you can take out any any like, let's say, awkward answers or answers that kind of didn't go anywhere, or an awkward question that you like don't want to actually air. You can go ahead and cut it out. And then by switching cameras, you're able to kind of seamlessly edit in a way that's not obvious. I love working this way. And then you should have, you basically end up having the full interview. So in here, I would have the intro and the outro. I don't have it in this case, but that's where you would have it. Then you have the dual view, which is just the view of the entire thing right here. This is the entire interview as a dual view. And then you have the multicam version, which is the dual view, camera A, and then your other cameras. So that's kind of what happens. I'm going to show you here in this full episode with multicam. So yesterday, the previous lesson, I showed you the overall layout, and this is what it would look like had I used multicam editing throughout that. So originally it looked like this. Then if you do regular multicam just by highlighting, right clicking and nesting and making a multicam, it would look like this, but you don't have that third view. You just have the 2-camera view. And then if you do all that work that I showed you, that's actually pretty easy to do the third view, you get this. So I really enjoy it. I hope you guys took a lot away from this. Remember, you can always ask me any questions in the Discord channel that we have for Premiere Pro. You can bring your questions there. Check out the project file so you can make sure you know how to actually execute this and use multicam editing for your video podcast. I'm telling you, it's going to make editing so much faster and pleasant, and like cutting from one scene to the next just becomes so easy. So check it out, check out those project files, and then head on over to the Discord channel and let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to get back to you. And thank you once again for watching this stream. I hope you learned a ton. I'll see you here for the next one. Bye everyone. Bye-bye.